Usual Paddy talking about shit.
It seems so. It's weird. It sounds distant, because we've got headphones on. It's going through the microphone. It's really weird. Oh,
that was like a really disappointing end.
like a wet fart.
Anyway, we're recording now. Anyway. Oh, that's really good.
It's always been one of my favourite sounds. I love it. Just have this for like an hour.
That'll be flat in an hour. It's Pepsi Max.
You could shake it every so often. It'd be right.
It'll just lose its fizz.
See, now I'm thinking, see if I'm going to be burping for 2 minutes. It's a terrible idea. Pepsi was a terrible idea. Just about water or something.
Rain.
Water.
Is that a woody noise or a tinny?
It's a what? It's a woody word, isn't it?
Anyway, we are like 45 seconds into this.
Wow.
No.
We're off to a great start then. Professional.
Professional as always. This is Usual Paddy on Halloween month. It's
more or less
scary month. So this is I can't make Usual Paddy scary.
You need you should thought it was advanced with some kind of intro.
Well, instead of pop noises in
the
microphone.
Talk about woody words, yeah.
Woody words. I'm Pet Cemetery Man. In this
That's a bad feedback score
Look,
from your pet shop, isn't it?
I'm limited to what I can incorporate into my name, but probably more than you. I'm here with new co-host person.
I'm definitely not the rank of co-host.
Well, you're the co-person. You're the only other person here, so that makes you co-person.
That's exciting. It's a lot of responsibility. It's like when you see you and you sit in the airplane and you say, if you go sit next to the door, you have to be the one to open it and get everyone else out. I'm like, oh, I'm not up for that.
I'm not for the pressure of...
I want to go down the slide first anyway, also.
Of twiddling that handle and opening a door. There's too much pressure.
No, you have to help everyone down and stuff as well. You have responsibility to stay on and help everyone down the slide because you're supposed to have read the instructions.
And you need to get Michelle to sit there and you sit next to her. So she has to open the door and you're the first out.
No.
You need to sit next to the person that has to open the door.
Is that what you have to do? And then you get...
I assume. I've not flown before, so...
I feel like the chance of it ever needing to be necessary. I don't know.
Oh, he says.
Well, terribly derailed
First
already.
time for everything.
Terribly derailed already.
So, introduce yourself. What is your name, Brad?
Thank you. My name is Brad.
Oh, who knew? Didn't make that Halloweeny, did you?
No.
Nope. Can't be done.
Where can I go with that? Brad.
You just say the same thing, but with...
It's vaguely ghost
with
noise.
an ooh.
Yeah.
Ghost, like standard ghost noises.
That's what I'm going with.
Okay. So, yeah, you're Brad. Nice to meet you. Are you glad to be here?
Nice to meet me. You always turned up.
I've only just met you.
Right.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. A
Good,
little bit giddy,
good to
actually.
know. So we're going to attempt to keep this kind of like Halloween, horror, scariness, that kind of thing related.
As scary as two people talking on a microphone can be.
Yeah.
We'll talk about horror-related things.
Yeah, but there's like lights of Halloween images on the wall.
Yep. Yeah, I have my little Halloween symbols flashing up. There's pumpkins and spiders. It's very Halloweeny. It's as Halloweeny as we're getting in here at the moment.
Well, you say that, but there's a ram skull staring right at me.
Yep.
As a nice off-center piece of the table.
Yeah, the viewers can't see it, but they're imagining it.
I'll probably get a picture or something, like Halloween related. So let's start this off. What's like the first things you remember growing up
about horror?
Be it like things you watched. It can be like cartoons if you want to go that far back. Which could have been scary at the time, like Scooby-Doo's and stuff like that.
Well, I was thinking about this yesterday, because obviously we come with talking about it before, but I was thinking yesterday, I'm sure you're a similar age to me, aren't you? You're just like a year or so between us.
Yeah, I'm pretty close.
So, me and you both grew up in a time when it was just part of pop culture.
Yeah.
So the 80s, And like, there's a lot of things were in the 80s, but one of the big things was VHS. And obviously in the 70s and stuff, VHS was around, but it was quite kind of elite at the time. And 80s is when everyone could get a VHS player finally.
Yeah.
And get themselves to the VHS rental shops, the video libraries.
Yeah.
That, by the way, kids, is a thing that Grandpa used to have that you don't get anymore now. Where you used to go to a place.
I remember us having a Betamax.
A Betamax.
A Betamax.
I don't think I ever had one of those. So.
Oh,
we had a luxury VHS set.
We went on to that.
Yeah, but yeah, so the grandpas like us, we used to have the video rental place where you go and all the movies would be there, like HMV, like you get now. But instead of buying them, you'd just take them away for a night. And
You'd hire them.
Yeah, you'd hire
It's
them.
It's
like going to the library, but you get VHS videos.
Manual Amazon Prime. It's like you rent the film, but you have to walk and get it, and then walk home, and then take it back like 2 days later.
And you have to take it back, or they will charge you more for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, it's like a major thing. It kind of, and what happened is, obviously...
Horror, black cat. There's a black cat walking across the
my cat is going to invade regularly.
It's fine.
But yeah, so, I mean, it was the 80s, we had VHS and stuff was big, and the 70s, the late 70s and the 80s was massive on horror and exploitation movies specifically because they were cheap. And horror movies are super cheap. You could go to the woods, which didn't cost anything because nobody owned it. You could just run around in the woods screaming and have some poor gore effects.
You can still do that regardless of who.
Yeah, anyone could do that even today. Yeah.
Do that frequently.
So everyone used to do that, and there was a massive amount of videos that had cheap rubbish horror. And then when you came out of VHS, you get all that stuff like that. And of course, also in the 80s, around mid-80s, when we were born, you had the excitement of the video nasties. Not something I think that you could ignore, because I'm pretty sure it was a massive influence on the 80s in general. When all of a sudden, not only were horror movies like a bit naughty if you're a kid, but it was naughty.
Yeah, because they were banned.
Yeah, because they were banned. Banned movies.
That is scary. It's
and
like, because you look at like the banned lists wherever you look at them back then, and you just think, oh, films you're not allowed to watch,
and
then you're just like, I'm gonna have to watch it now.
People used to pass them around. You see copies. When he got banned, they'd be taken off shelves. People still had copies. They'd be like, I got a copy of this. I got a copy of the last house.
No way, you're gonna let me borrow it.
Yeah. Spit on Your Grave, the original one, not the one that came out recently.
Yeah.
Terrible movies, but, had brutal things in them. Violence, gore, rape.
I think, like, the biggest one was Cannibal Holocaust, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was like the number
example.
one. That's, the famous bad, nasty. And
that's like pre the viral internet sensation too, but it became, it had the same effect as that kind of internet viral thing where... Even before the time where people were like, oh, it was real. They're all real things. They were really dying. They were really being killed and eaten.
That's it. That woman's got a pole right up her jacksie and out her mouth. Real,
yeah. And people believed it at the time. And I think to be fair, there was some brutal stuff. I do believe they actually killed
the animals
or something. Yeah, there was real animal cruelty in it.
Yeah, but like they had to go to court with the actors, didn't they?
They did, yeah. The actors turned up and were like, "I'm still alive." See,
you didn't actually kill them, but that's when you know you make a good film. When it's that believable.
Have you seen it? Have you seen Cannibal Holocaust?
I've heard
of it, but I've never seen it.
But it's been a long time ago.
Right. I actually have never seen that movie.
No.
I used to have...
it's quite tame.
Of course, you'd say
standards.
that. Yeah, you'd say that by today's standards. A lot of things are. We live in a different time now where you can have anything, which seems ironic.
Like nothing's like out of bounds now. Like I remember going to see A Quiet Place at the cinema, and then... Spoiler alert, right at the beginning, that poor little kid just gets swiped out by the creature. You just think, wow, this could go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, the Halloween remake, reboot, soft reboot / sequel. It's a soft reboot.
Rob Zombie one?
No, the one that came out in the last couple of years with... what's the name?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah.
Yes.
Michael kills a kid in that.
Bruce Willis in a wig.
What's that?
Jamie Lee Curtis. I saw promotional posters and that for that film when it was coming out, and I swear to God, it looks like Bruce Willis in a long hair wig. I'm going to show you pictures later, and you'll be like,
show me pictures.
That's Bruce Willis.
I watched the movie
wig.
last week. I did not note that. But
It's because she's moving. It doesn't move like Bruce Willis with that smug attitude.
Right. Yeah, but in that movie, Michael Myers kills a kid, and you wouldn't go that 30 years ago. They would have been super out of that.
Yeah.
Not showing it anyway. You see Michael Myers just get him a headlock, just break his neck, and I was like, whoa, they showed that. Wouldn't get that 30 years ago.
No.
But we would get other cool stuff, like popping eyeballs and brutal gore arrows coming through necks, Friday 13th. Yeah, lots of stuff like that. But yeah, so, video nasties was a massive thing in the 80s, and it caused a massive stir. Everyone was crazy about it. When everyone went up, absolute uproar about the idea that all of a sudden your kids could get hold of these videos.
Well, like, times can change. I mean, look at Driller Killer now.
Driller Killer was in the box of the band that I had.
Yeah.
So, like, it's going back now. I've not got it anymore. It's like, I think it's maybe like 2000-ish. They released on DVD something called Box of the Band, and it was 8 movies that had been banned in the 80s.
And Cannibal Holocaust wasn't in it.
I don't think it was.
That's weird.
But that one was. What did you just say?
Driller Killer.
Driller Killer was in it. Driller Killer was in it.
These days, a lot of drills are cordless. So,
you would have a much easier time killing people then, because it's hilarious, because one of the things we joked about when we watched that movie was that he did have a cord, because there wasn't cordless drills back then.
That's it.
And we were like, where's his cord plugged in? Has he got like 18 extension cords so he can go out and kill people in his neighbourhood?
Yeah, for like a small radius around his house.
This woman's been driller killed. Where do you think the killer's got? Oh.
And just see the cable just
getting
dragged back.
Dragged back, yeah.
But yeah, now it's cordless. Now we could get a hammer drill, just to like deeper penetrate. Just pun intended.
But I mean, can you remember? Did you ever go? I take it your parents used to take you to video rental places.
Oh yeah, Movieland.
Yep, Movieland.
Yeah,
I
classic.
had my mum had was the 753rd customer, because our card was.
I can't remember what the number on ours
on it. It was like the first 1,000. It was like an ancient green one that was like falling apart. It was. But yeah, so like I remember standing in Movieland and looking at all the films, and they have them facing outwards, like the newer arrivals, and you see all the cool stuff. They'd be like, 80s was great because you had artwork and like photo pictures like you get now. So you get like there'd be this beautiful artwork of like some rubbish, lame knockoff sword and sorcerer movie that have like a woman in like a bikini with a big sword with dragons. It's all like this beautiful artwork. And then there'd be stuff like Driller Killer. Famous cover of just a guy screaming, the drill just going straight through his face.
Yeah, to the point.
Yeah,
shows you what you're going to be in store.
Yeah, exactly. For. Like Driller Killer, you see that cover, you're like, I know what's in that. And I think that scene, I've seen these in the movie actually, but everything else in the movie, super tame.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've not actually seen it, so
it's really bad movie.
It's because he can't really reach with his like 1 meter, 1 meter cord.
But yeah, so video nasties, big. It was a big thing. And like I think it did something to the culture. It made horror very popular because everyone could get hold of it and everyone wanted it, and it was a big thing in the culture. And I was thinking that might be where it came from. If you think about the 80s,
it's
as
like
a kid,
the 80s version of like going that one step further to be edgy. Because obviously when you start going back to like the 70s and stuff, you started seeing like Night of the Living Dead's and
good movie. Good, that still held up very well. To be honest, the original black and white Night of the Dead.
Like with the zombies and things like that, but then it's kind of like, how do we step this up a little bit? It's like, we'll have these video nasties of like people being eaten and killed with drills.
Yeah, it was a real fast
instead
escalation.
of just like zombies going around or Nosferatu or Dracula.
Horror
it's
movies,
just a different type of horror.
Yeah, horror movies have always been universally cheap to make and always made relatively high money because people apparently are sick. I mean, we're all sick. All humans are disgustoids in human form. And we all like gross stuff.
A lot of people say they don't, but if you
say,
do you want to see a picture of a man's industrial accident? Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, and everyone knows as well, rather classically, traditionally, stereotypically, women will go, oh no, horror, and they'll be scared and they'll cover their eyes. but they'll have the gaps in the fingers so they can
Oh
see
yeah,
what's happening.
they still want to see what's happening.
Yeah, this is the thing. People,
The
people might
whole
say
point
you don't
of
like it,
covering
you
your
do.
face is just a moot point because you're still watching it.
Human life is very blasé these days, and we haven't got survival situations or things to be afraid of. So, horror's a nice little release for that.
Got COVID.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
That's a survival situation.
2020 accepted.
Okay.
But yeah, so
what do you remember watching?
well,
as a child?
I was gonna say about how horror was just ingrained in us. It was. You're the same age as me, so I'm pretty sure you're gonna remember this stuff. Do you remember watching Ghost Train on Saturday mornings?
Vaguely.
So on Saturday morning, kids TV on the normal channels. This is before Freeview and Sky. We only had 4 channels.
Yeah,
We
1,
didn't have
2,
channel
3, and
5.
4.
Yep. And therefore, there was a kids channel on Saturday mornings. It was Ghost Train, which was. I think it was around Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters cartoon was pretty big, obviously in the 80s, massive in fact.
That was me. That was a me thing.
Yeah, the Saturday morning TV was Ghost Train. I remember I actually had the T-shirt. Winning a competition.
Nice.
It was a white T-shirt. It had a luminous yellow screaming skull. It said Ghost Train in it because obviously everything was luminous in the 80s. So. But yeah, that the idea of that show was it was a Saturday morning show, so it'd be like a kids' TV show. They'd have a presenter, there'd be like a setting, they'd have like mini games and things for like the audience. If I remember correctly, there was a Ghost Train in it, I believe.
Good.
I have not watched. I meant to look at it, but I've not looked at any clips of it. But memory. And then you'd have all the TV shows as well, and the usual kids' morning TVs. Your Thundercats and things.
Oh yes.
There'd be Trapdoor.
See, I love Trapdoor, and to this day I still love Trapdoor.
Yeah, I still got Trapdoor on DVD.
Yeah.
And there was, of course, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
But it's ingrained now, isn't it? And then I was thinking as well, something else that is a big part of the 80s that I remember is we had proper kids' movies. And when I say proper kids' movies, I mean, it was a U certificate, but it'd have really dark, scary, creepy, disturbing stuff in it.
Yeah.
I'm talking stuff like Labyrinth,
See,
Neverending
Labyrinth
Story, Legend.
It's the use of practical effects which keep them still real because they were kind of real.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there were some dodgy CGI and things like Labyrinth and that when they're juggling their heads about and stuff. And you can tell, there's the black lines around the.
Yeah, it's all double screen and stuff. It's very different to nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, the use of practical effects still keeps them alive. And it was a Jim Henson thing, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So
I think
another reason why it's still alive, because it's as alive as Big Bird was. I don't know what's happening with that these days.
I'm pretty sure you're like me. You're a physical effects guy.
Yeah.
The thing is about CGI is it has its place.
It has its place if you've got the money to sink into it.
Yeah, there is some films with bad CGI.
There is some terrible CGI out there.
There is a problem with CGI. No matter how good it is, it ages very badly. The human eye apparently is super good at spotting digital effects, and every year digital effects get better, and everything that came before it looks a lot worse. Have you watched something that had lots of visual effects? And have you seen the Star Wars prequels at all recently?
Not recently, no.
Go back to them, man. Enjoy the special effects.
See,
droids, the clones in... Oh my god, the clones in episode 2, they look brutal now.
Well, everything was because everything was CG, bar the characters. Well, even then, some of the actors were CG, but...
No, that's wooden, different.
But, yeah, I mean, I even found, I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm not obsessed with Lord of the Rings. But the effects were really good.
Lord of the Rings held up pretty well, actually.
But The Hobbit...
Yeah.
Hobbit felt like cardboard cutouts in a lot of the places.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison, actually. The Lord of the Rings is...
So I've made my money. I'm going to sink a little bit into this, but not enough to make whatever look spot on.
Yeah, I agree. There's a big difference between those two trilogies. The Lord of the Rings trilogy has held up pretty well, and there's CGI in it. There's quite a lot of CGI in it, but they also have a lot of proper prosthetic, real effects, real people and actors. There's of course famously the Uruk-hai wearing trainers in one of the
There's
scenes.
always something. It's like Gladiator with a guy wearing jeans.
There's always that guy sat with Starbucks cup and just snuck in there. That's
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But I mean, you compare that to the Hobbit trilogy, which has got many things wrong with it, makes it different to the Lord of the Rings, in my opinion. But there's an overuse of CGI is a problem that exists in a lot of movies today.
Well,
not
I
just
mean, even practical effects has its drawbacks. I remember
they do
again a guy of the younger years, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
When one of the Rangers is stood on top of their Zord and they like zoom out, it is clearly just one of the plastic dolls that they've glued to the top of it, and it always looks great.
In Power Rangers' defense, they had a super low budget.
Well, that's it. I mean, like all the clips were from a Japanese TV show, and then when they're not in their costumes, that's the American.
Yeah, that's how they did it,
things.
because they knew that the American market wouldn't go for all of the Japanese actors outside their costumes.
Yeah,
it's funny because when you was a kid, you didn't notice that transition either. That the camera was distinctly lower grain on the actual like Power Ranger bits. 'Cause it's clearly filmed in completely different place and time.
Jason doesn't look very muscular when he's in his spandex, does he?
That's almost all like they look like stuntmen. They're all the same size and build.
No, don't be stupid. Like back in those 90s days, you don't think about stuntmen and things like that. You just want to believe what you're seeing to an extent. Not like the same building collapse every time something grows, or that piece of cliff falls down when Rita throws a scepter down.
But yeah, so where were we? Oh, those movies in the 80s, the fantasy movies, practical effects. To be fair, you can still tell the puppets now when you look at them, but what puppets? That little fox, in Labyrinth, the little fat fox that talks like the Brigadier.
Yeah,
it's like I love that fox. It's great, and I don't even care as a puppet. It's amazing. Total derail. Just briefly.
Sedidimus. Was it Sedidimus? Was that him?
I don't remember his name.
Oh,
I've not seen Labyrinth for a couple of years now.
I can't remember now.
But totally not to derail further from the subject of horror, because we already derailed slightly.
But
I'm going to jump across and say,
horror and Labyrinth.
While we're on this subject, though, Farscape, also great for all those digital effects again, digital effects.
I wasn't big on
You're not a Farscape
that.
person.
I wasn't a Farscape.
When did you watch it?
I haven't.
You haven't watched it, but
No.
how can you make a judgment on it, then?
Is it because I'm not into it? I don't know. I find I don't know what it is about sci-fi. Like, I really like some good sci-fi, but for me, there's got to be that stronger element of realism.
Right.
Yeah, I like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I don't watch Star Trek.
Okay, that's interesting. Star Trek debatably is a lot more realistic.
I know.
In terms of what the characters... Well, I don't know. That's debatable again. Star Trek is like a perfect universe, like a perfect future, where humans got their stuff sorted out, and they don't argue anymore. There's no war anymore. We all, we've given away money and stuff. We've got replicators. We can make anything now, and every completely different world.
Yeah. But I can't wrap my own head around my own thoughts about things, because it's the same with fantasy games as well. Like,
all right.
Like, I'm not bothered. Like, all the Fable games that have come out, it's like, yeah, whatever, and whatever. Anything with huge, giant, massive swords, what a regular person's carrying, and I'm thinking, I won't be able to wield that. But then Skyrim came out, and I was like, I'm all over that.
You're saying it's a bit more gritty. Is that what?
Yeah, but then I'd always play as like a Nord, and I wasn't into the magic element of it. I just like the brutality.
You had to just play the game as the brutal fantasy world,
shoving a mace into something's face.
Medieval world with monsters. That's what you wanted.
So again, it's the same with spacey things as well.
Right.
I like a lot of element of what could be realism. I mean, it all could be real, but seeing like blue people walk around and stuff, and
well, they're alien. If you're talking about Zan, she is an alien.
And what's that? Space Precinct. You remember Space Precinct?
No.
TV series.
No.
It's like there's like an alien cop and a human cop and a flying car and stuff. Don't you? Oh, see, I didn't watch it because I wasn't bothered. But my mum loved that.
My mum's got a few. She had a few shows of that, like sci-fi ones.
Then she'll turn over and watch like Little House on the Prairie or something really weird like that. And back then I was like, that's weird. But as we all grow old, I suppose.
I feel like I derailed again when we were talking about. I was just saying that Farscape had a really great physical effects. Jim Henson again. So
yeah.
What I was going to say was, though, haven't seen it. You haven't judged it yet. You should look back because it's pretty good. Like, Farscape is probably one of the most interesting sci-fis because it's off its head all of the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fantastical, and it gets real crazy in season 2 and 3 as well. It's very, very strange show. It's a very zany show.
And I'm just weird with things like Stargate. Like, I watched the film Stargate, but the moment I hear the series, I'm like, I'm not watching that.
To be fair, the Stargate series, I watched like a couple episodes of it, and I can't judge it. But in the 2 episodes I saw, it looked really, really geeky, like really nerdy, not geeky. And I was like, nerds. But yeah, who am I to say that?
Yeah,
I am one. So
it's called horror.
Horror.
We need to bring this back to horror.
Yeah, sorry. So we were saying about physical effects were great, and yes, we were saying that the those fantasy movies. Although you said you didn't like fantasy, apparently you're okay with Labyrinth. And
yeah, I know. Again, I can't wrap my own head around my head.
You know the Dark Crystal movie recently? They had they rebooted the TV show.
Yeah,
the TV show on
again.
Netflix.
I want to watch it.
It was amazing, by the way. Yeah,
I do want to watch.
There's a few times I think it didn't know who to appeal to because there's a few times where most of the time it felt quite mature as well. Like they had a lot of mature themes. There lots of Game of Thrones politics and things happening in it, and I was like, "Whoa, Dark Crystal go!" And then there'd be these childish moments. And, Dark Crystal was one of those kids' movies. I say with inverted commas because in the 80s they were terrifying movies, like nightmare fuel of weird creatures and monsters, and everything was horrible looking. So, but yeah, like really weird, and that's the 80s tone though. A lot of the 80s movies like that, kids movies in the 80s were kind of adult. They had adult themes, freaky and creepy.
Yeah,
you bleed into that stuff that was aimed at an older group, but still had that childish element in it. Like you had like Gremlins, for example. Yeah, a really good example of that. It is almost childlike in its innocence, but it was like a dark theme of little monsters again. So yeah.
Are there any films that actually did give you nightmares, or maybe still does?
I know a couple that gave my brother nightmares.
Oh, go on, do spill.
My dad, after my parents split up, my brother used to go to my dad's for the weekends, and my dad would show my little brother horror movies and other movies that were of an adult nature, not like porn, adult nature. Show him mature movies, the certificate 12 plus, when my little brother was like probably too young to have seen them.
Oh.
And then my dad let him watch a couple of movies that he made. There's one movie in particular that he made a mistake on my little brother, and it was Jeepers Creepers.
Was he that young?
My brother was only young when he saw Jeepers Creepers, and
Jesus Christ.
It messed him up.
I went to the cinema.
Messed him up. My brother
many times to see that film.
You said multiple times?
Oh, definitely.
I think the multiple times at the cinema is, you're saying that's a good movie. I'm not sure I could say that to Jeepers Creepers. It wasn't that great.
This was back when the cinema was like £3 to go to, though. So you could just be like, it's Saturday, what should I do? I just go watch a film. I saw that multiple times, and I saw Signs multiple times.
Okay.
Nothing like seeing a non-drunk.
It's an okay movie, what a twist and all that.
Yeah. I don't know, just, something to do.
But yeah, so, Jeepers Creepers gave him nightmares for weeks. He used to wake up crying, screaming.
But the first half of that film is scary, but once
he was afraid of the monster
is revealed, it kind of lost its edge.
Didn't
and
like
then
it for my brother.
The second one was terrible.
The idea for my brother that he was just, collecting the parts. He needed to collect everything from different people to regenerate himself over time. My brother was like, I'm done with that. And I am also the one that made my brother have nightmares for several weeks as a child, because I showed him the other movie that traumatized him the most as a child. I thought, in my infinite wisdom, when I was probably 16, 17-ish, that I could show my little brother Reservoir Dogs, because it was a cool movie with guns and action. Yeah,
it is a cool movie with guns and action.
And I didn't think at the time about how the torture scene might upset him with him being so young, because he was like under 10 probably when I showed him it. And he did not like the torture scene, and he also had nightmares about that for a long time.
That's a weird one to...
It's a horrible scene, though. Like, when you... Again, though, like, as an adult, it's a horrible scene, but as a child... He did not have the equipment emotionally to deal with that scene. It was happening to him, and it just blew his child mind. Which kids is why you shouldn't watch movies that are of an 18 certificate when you're 10.
Yeah, but no one's going to listen to you, are they?
Well, yeah, no, because this is when the video nasty thing comes back again, and like when everyone used to do it in the 80s. We were like, oh, look at that, Evil Dead. Oh god, everyone will see that movie. Yeah, let's rent it out. Let's get Jack's older brother to rent it out. He's 18, he can get it. Yeah. We'll go watch it 20 times in a row and have nightmares about it.
It was a long time until I watched The Evil Dead. Not because like, oh, I don't want to watch it or anything like that. It was just like a long time before it came into my possession that I could just watch it.
I first watched Evil Dead 2, as I'm sure most people probably did. I watched Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, a Next Door Neighbour's house, when I was like 14.
There's something weird like that, because I remember when I was young, like the primary school years, I was able to watch Aliens before Alien. I was able to watch Terminator 2 before Terminator.
Yeah, it was very distinct, which is interesting because...
So always the sequels are the easier ledger in.
My dad also let me watch Aliens when I was about 11, and I remember checking under my bed and in my cupboard. I used to have a cupboard in the corner of my bedroom. It's a high cupboard. It used to be my board game cupboard, right? Little cupboard.
Yeah.
And it used to open on its own. Like, obviously, like the hinges probably, were a bit lax, so it just slowly open.
So you're not worried about a lion or a witch?
I used to check in that cupboard and check under my bed for facehuggers for like a few weeks after I saw a movie as a kid. Again, it was facehuggers was a bit that freaked me out the most. It gets you where you could get you while you're asleep and you'd be helpless.
That's
it. It's already too late.
It doesn't help that they see them once they've been asleep and they wake up and they notice that the jars are all...
It's already too late, yeah.
Shit. Yeah. So yeah, I get it.
So yeah, that one. But like the reason he showed me that was because, ironically, you could get Aliens figures from toy stores.
Yeah.
Going to Woolworths, that's another thing.
I remember I had an Alien Queen. I had a squishy bit on the back of her head that made the mouth thing come out.
I had all of them. The very first one I got was the Panther Alien, which was like a rusty coloured one that walked on all fours. It looked a bit like the Alien from Alien 3. Yeah. So my dad showed me clips of the Alien from Alien 3 because it looked like my figure. And then I was like, I want more of this. This is Alien 3. Where are the others? So he showed me a dad cut of Aliens where he cut out the chest burster scene, go over that boring talking bit at the beginning, straight into like the Space Marines and the aliens. That's what it was. So
yeah, I just wanted the aliens that were in Aliens because obviously I'd seen them. I want those.
There was one toy. There was one toy in that range that actually looked like the alien from the movies, and it was the Scorpion Alien. It was called. And it had a thing where you press a switch in its back, and the top half of it exploded into like 4 different segments. Nice. like an explosion effect for when you shoot it as a Space Marine.
For my birthday, someone bought me a bull alien, so that was like on all fours, and it had the horns on. Yeah.
And it had like a thing you press its back and its head wiggle.
Started moshing when you.
There's an identical model of that, but with different legs and head, and it was a Rhino Alien as well, like different paint scheme with different legs and head. But it's like the same thing with a wiggly head again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic toys.
Toys
from adults' films that kids could own and play with.
Yeah, it's weird. That's a weird thing as well. I used to get. I think one of the last times I remember distinctly seeing that was was the Starship Troopers figures. Nobody bought them because what kid was watching Starship Troopers in the late 90s?
I watched Starship. I think we rented Starship Troopers.
The CGI TV show that came out after the fact, that the figures were already out.
Yeah.
And apparently sales didn't do too well, and I was like, well, it makes sense. No one saw Starship Troopers when it first came out because everyone thought it was rubbish. Because
now it's like a cult classic.
Well, yeah, because nobody understood when it came out that it was kind of supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
You watch that movie now and you watch it with like a cynical mindset as an adult, you're like, there's a reason that all of the talking and acting is like 90210 and like it's full of horrendous gore and like all this kind of vague propaganda. The movie is like a propaganda piece. That's how it comes across anyway. It's great. It's a fantastic movie, by the way, Starship Troopers.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's like District 9, where it's like, yes, it's like humans and these aliens that we've now like quarantined in this area.
Cool premise.
Like anything that happens in that, you could easily take them aliens out and replace them with people, and everything stays the same.
Yeah. More interesting with aliens, though.
Obviously, yeah. With the prawns.
What were we on? I keep losing track of where we're at.
We're on our young forays into horror.
Yes. Yeah, so let's face it as well. Cartoons is loads. Trapdoor, Ghostbusters.
Yep.
What other horror-themed cartoons was there?
Scooby-Doo.
Do you know...
But then it's
I never
not
was into,
scary.
I was never into Scooby-Doo,
Weren't you?
yeah. Never into it.
Because no matter what happens, it's always a person in the
Yeah,
end.
that's it. I clued in early that there was no monster, and I was like, I'm not interested in this.
But then, are these just murderers then that they're capturing?
I guess. I was
So it
less
can be
interested.
quite
I was less
horrifying.
interested in that as a child, so... I remember a slightly older generation. There was Mighty Max, and obviously a toy and a TV show. Have you actually seen Mighty Max?
remember
That's an
Mighty
awesome
Max's-
cartoon, by the way. Everyone dies at the end. Spoilers.
You won't say the spoilers before you say the
Alright,
spoilers.
sorry, that's fine. And no one cares. It's the night at this point anyway. It's the spoiler clause. If the movie's so old, it's not a spoiler anymore.
That's it. There's some kind of age.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like a few years these days.
yeah,
Might even be less than that. It might be like 2 years or something.
Like,
It's
can
fair
we still
game.
talk about the Sixth Sense and the twist at the end?
Everyone knows the twist of Sixth Sense, even if it happens in the movie. I think, apart from like young people.
Yeah.
Young.
The youths
Yeah, the youths on
that
watch
aren't
those
bothered
movies.
about it.
Yeah, they're the ones that turn around to like my part-time turned to me last year and said I was ancient. And I was like, I'm 35. That is not
That
ancient.
makes me like more ancient than you.
I know.
I'm like medieval.
It was like she was like, yeah, but you're ancient. I was like, I'm not ancient. Take
You
that
start
back.
crying and
You're a
start,
fetus.
start flipping tables.
Ah, dear me.
So go on, what else is on your list?
You leave my
You
list
brought
alone.
notes.
Yeah, Joe was like, oh, let's talk about horror stuff. And I was like, all right, what do you talk about? And Joe was like, I don't know, whatever. And I was like, right. So I'm just going to come in and we'll go. Well, to be fair, we have randomly rambled so far, so I've not really need the list, I
What
guess.
happens? This is why I told you that you didn't need a list.
No, you see, because you think it is, but we're actually only here so far. We're still in this section.
All right, we'll go into
I- I have my other stuff, so obviously, there was Ghostbusters.
Take the lead.
I've got some other stuff that you'll recognise, that you'll probably remember as well. Which one did you watch as a kid? Did you watch Goosebumps, or did you watch Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I watched both, but I preferred Goosebumps.
I
still do. I have the DVD.
think I preferred Goosebumps as
of
well
all
as a
the
TV
Goosebumps
show.
series. Have you watched them back recently?
I watched a few episodes of Goosebumps.
Hot
They
damn.
were delightful. They're horrendous and brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
Very, very satisfying TV show, the Goosebumps TV show.
I love it.
I think at the time though, like book reading, I was enjoying point horror more. So more point
Yeah,
horror kids.
that's kind of like the teen, like Goosebumps books are like lower teen. And then
Yeah.
as you start getting to like your 15, 16, so it's, I'm going to read some point horrors. But then I'm still trying to collect the Goosebumps books, so I have like the classic collection.
Yeah,
Just trying to track them down.
We've got a few point horror books upstairs.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've got any Goosebumps books.
No.
Yeah, the old ones, they go for quite a lot of money now. We were looking at the point horror books the other day, and I was like, you can get that's like 10 quid. That's like five
Oh, no,
times
that's-
the price it cost when we bought them.
I've seen them a lot cheaper than that. Like, I first got like a bundle from a charity shop. They were like all like tied up with string. It's like, this is a bundle. So I thought, well, now's
They
the
do
time.
it with DVDs now. That's the age we live in because no
No.
one buys them.
Now's the time for me to collect the Goosebumps books. I'll start off with this bundle. So, and that's how it started. I'll get there one day, but I am going to have to spend like £5 on to fill the gaps in.
£5, outrageous.
I know.
The great thing about those
Yeah.
books, because I mean, we had a quick look in the point horror books the other day, actually, me and Michelle, and like we noted the price. I think it was $2.99 or $3.99. That is like a pocket money per week kind of price, which is a sweet price.
You
back
can't
then.
get a new book.
Yeah,
Like, guaranteed that book that says $2.99 on it will be like scratched out in Waterstones and replaced with like tenner.
Sorry, also for the kids at home, books are these things. They were like loads of sheets of paper with writing on that told a story that you'd have fastened together, and
It
you
doesn't
buy
tell
it as
you a
whole.
story like
It does tell you a story.
audible. Or
Yeah, no,
whatever.
it only tells you a story in your head when you read the words. That is right. I mean, I know you guys probably won't recognise that now, but that's what it is. And back in the day, before we had the internet,
It's
and
a
we could just,
pre-Kindle.
I mean, we just play on our phone now. But like back in the day, we used to go, oh, do you know what? I think I've got an hour. I think I'll read a bit of my book, and that's what we used to do. You know what? Pocket money price for those books, great. A nice dose of horror.
It's like some people will get them books from a library.
Yeah, that's
And that's that big building in town that Instead of going left to the computer room, if you went right, oh, your eyes will be opened to a world of trees with writing on them.
Like I say, to be open to a world of dust.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to libraries anymore. It's
They do in horror films when they're trying to find out the history of their house, and they just so happen to find the direct knowledge by going into a library.
more important, either that, or they just simply ring the specialist who's like, "Oh, you've
You
got
live in that house, do you?
You've got a Hippowaff demon."
Oh, what?
A Hippowaff demon.
Is that a thing?
No, it's not. I just made it up. But it's what they always do. They're like, "Oh, you've got a Hippowaff," and it's like, "Oh, don't read from that thing you've already read from, and stand in that circle you've already stood in."
You know that thing you've read? Yeah, you shouldn't have done that.
yeah, that's exactly what they do. Modern horror movies are rubbish. They all do that stuff.
You read it?
Yeah.
You read the Book of the Dead?
The Professor Ex Machina that tells us that's like, "Oh yeah, you've got this thing. Don't worry about it. This is all the information you need about it," rather than it just being nebulous and unknown and therefore more terrifying. It's got to be explained away.
So, what are your thoughts on like classic franchises? I know I've discussed this in the past with the others, but things like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween's. How are you with like the classic slashers?
So I'm going to disappoint myself as a horror fan by saying Nightmare on Elm Street. I've only seen the original. I've not seen any of the others, including the supposed best of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which I think is like New Nightmare, whatever it's called. I don't remember. I think it's the fourth one. Anyway, apparently they have got some merits. I've only seen the first one. It was all right. Halloween. I've seen the first one, which is a pretty good movie. I saw it a couple of months ago, actually, and it stood up pretty well. It's stood the test of time as far as movies go. And the only other Halloween movie I can remember, other than the Rob Zombie ones, which I've also seen recently, is H2O.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that one.
Get that night is in there.
I saw that when it first came out. We rented it from the rental place.
Yeah, that is a dose of 90s. And also, by the way...
The only thing I remember of that film is a kid with the ice hockey shoe in his face. Like the blade straight in his face.
Yeah, so that's the only thing I remember about the Halloween movies. And then Friday the 13th, I am indirectly a massive fan of the video game, Friday the 13th, the game, which is such a good game.
Yeah, I've played that.
I love that game.
I haven't played it a lot, but I did play as Jason, and it was like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
You have to play as Jason. It doesn't give you the choice. You can have a preference.
I thought you could play as
not Friday
the people trying to survive.
So it's Dead by Daylight, which is a very similar game. It came out around the same time, where where you get the killer against many people.
Yeah.
It's 1 against 4 in Dead by Daylight, and it's 1 against 8 in Friday the 13th. And they both sound the same when you describe them to somebody. One person is a killer, and everybody else is the survivors, and you have to survive and escape the map. Both sound exactly the same, but they're two very different games.
So you can't play as a survivor.
Dead by Daylight,
Friday
you can pick whether you play killer or survivor, but in Friday the 13th, the game, you have a preference where you can say, "Oh, I'd rather be the killer," or "I'd rather be a counsellor," and then it doesn't matter. You'll have to be it sometimes, so it just randomizes it every time, which is good. I think it's the better of those two with that little thing. I think it's good to make everyone have to be them, because then you don't get Dead by Daylight where you get surviving mains and killer mains that trash the other side. It's like, mate, just play both sides. You'll get good at both. It's fine. Sorry, divulging.
Not really, it's still horror.
Friday 13th, the game, great game. They had some problems with licensing, I believe, which was kind of stopped the last couple of Jasons coming out, but they had all of the different Jason Voorhees with like their own little powers and stuff. And there's a homage to the films. It is almost perfect. It's got several scenes from the films as levels, and like it's got all these little details and stuff in there. They clearly had a lot of kind of attention to detail on that. Very, very good. Movies. I've seen the first one, and that's probably about it, really. I've seen bits of all the other ones. I've seen Freddy vs. Jason because it's on Netflix. It's a terrible movie.
I don't like how the franchises went. Like the horror went and was replaced with really campy behaviour.
You're acting like that didn't happen to start off with, and it did. Michael Myers, Halloween's the only one that was serious horror. Freddy Krueger's always had. Oh, come on, man! Freddy Krueger's always had Habit Ham to him. Is it with the bitch, like He's always having fun. He's like, oh, I'm messing with your mind, doing my dreams and stuff. Like, always been super campy character.
Yeah, but didn't he like release a single or something? Like
That's
further
what I
down the
mean.
line?
Always been super campy. And then like Jason Voorhees as well, the Friday 13th movies, again, also really campy, kind of tongue in
I can't be
cheek.
dealing with him like Jason X, where he's in space.
This is it. The
It's
first Friday 13th was pretty serious, but after that, he kind of got hammier and hammier as time went on. He was just having fun. It's about Jason Voorhees.
I don't want it to be fun. I want scary horror. I don't want shit like that.
One of the things I was going to say is my preference for horror is I kind of go two ways. I like to be scared by horror, so I like really hard, kind of deep psychological horror that makes me uncomfortable. There's not many movies that do it these days, especially the modern horror films aren't scary to me.
The problem is...
There's no build-up, it's all just rubbish jump scares that bother you for a whole 2 seconds and they're gone and then you're over and done with. I like a film that leaves me uncomfortable after the movie.
This is what I mean, like... The majority of the public want these jump scares.
Yeah.
They want the cheap thrills.
Yeah.
Whereas
I'm not a cheap thrill man.
I like a slow burner if it's going somewhere. If it goes slowly, it's building up that tension, like you say, the uncomfortable kind of feeling.
Yeah.
But that's not what brings the money in for the studios. It's the we'll throw this out and hope for the best kind of thing.
Well, like I say, I mean, I've got that side. That's some serious horror taste, and then on the other side of that, I also have a soft spot for older sci-fi and horror movies, and also unintentionally bad movies. Not intentionally bad ones, no Sharknadoes. That's an example of a movie that's purposely supposed to be bad and it's crap.
It's not really a horror though, is it?
No, I couldn't think of a horror
Apart
one
from
off
the
my head.
acting
of
Tara Reid.
I can't think of any deliberately bad horror movies off my head. No, I think a little bit of campiness in your horror is good because horror can be fun too. It's fun when you see like Jason Voorhees gets that, like the Friday the 13th movies, they kind of get that where you'll have a gross kill and it'll be gross and you'll go, oh, that's a bit of horror I like that too, a little bit of campiness, so when something brutal happens, instead of being like, oh, you're like, ha, oh, gross. That's great.
Oh, now look what you've done.
Sorry, I just, for those that can't see, which is everybody, I just swept half of Joe's system off the table because I hooked the wire. You're
Wreck
welcome.
the joint.
Yeah, Michelle, if she ever listens to this, will be most amused that I almost just wrecked this.
That you ruined everything.
That'll be a moment. She'll love that.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
So what else is on your list? 90s horror. Where are you with 90s horrors?
I was going to say the things I was going to mention to you that I'm sure you'll probably remember. How do you feel about Buffy and Angel? You were
Don't
against
watch
those. What? Did you not watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Angel during your teens?
No.
My
I
God.
don't even know what
Do you know,
I
I
did.
find that hard to imagine based on... Hey, you seem to have a lot of things in common with me, kind of brought a similar age group. It must have been a massive part of...
I'd probably really get into Buffy if I watched it. Not literally, but...
I was going to make a naughty joke, but I won't. I'll just leave it at the
Feel
fact that I was
free.
going to.
Feel free.
But yeah, I'm honestly surprised by that. Do you know what? You liked Goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
I think going back, because there's a little bit of 90s ham in there now, especially in the first couple of seasons, because it was right back at the end of the 90s was when Buffy came out. You'd probably get quite a lot out of that now, to be honest. Yeah, for like a different reason to what we all got out of it when we watched it originally.
Yeah.
Buffy, the Vampire Slayer specifically, was one of the first times that I remember all of my friends getting into a serial TV show that lasted more than a season.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff's real common now. When you see a TV show now, you just assume it's going to last like another 5 seasons. They're like, it's not going to be for 1 season. It's going to be another 4 seasons, like Stranger Things, for example.
This is why I struggle with series, because with like news series, because even though a premise may look good, I don't want to watch something, be really invested with it, and then just say, oh, it's cancelled, there'll be no more.
Yeah, don't talk to me about that. I've got a couple of good examples of that really hurt me.
Like I've set myself up with some things like Lost in Space. I've been watching the new Lost in Space.
Oh yeah, how's that?
I really enjoy it.
I don't like sci-fi. Is it gritty and realistic enough for you, is it?
There's like proper people and a robot, but we have robots, right? But I'm really into that, but I'm like following each season that goes, and like when season 1 finished, it was only later on where it says, "Oh, we've been commissioned for a season 2." So then watch season 2, and then like sometime after it's like, "Oh, we've been commissioned for a season 3." So I'm just playing each season as it comes, kind of thing. Where at any time it could just end, and I'll be ruined.
Something I really liked recently, which was on Netflix in the last few years, was OA. The OA, it's called.
Don't know.
Yeah, well, this is it. It was a very, very interesting show. It was really cerebral. It had lots of things going on. It was like a big mystery box, a bit like J.J. Abrams likes to do, where there's loads of stuff happening. You were like, what is going on? This is crazy. Well, what's going to happen now? It was really, really weird and unique. It was a very pretty TV series. It was really well directed. And it had so much going on. And the second season just extended it, and we were like, what is happening? Oh my god, there's so much. A few little things popped out of the box, and we're like, whoa, this is getting good. Cancelled.
Oh. That's it, and it'll always end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it did end on a cliffhanger as well. And I was like, that's a shame, because it was a good TV show. I was getting into it, but you know, we've mentioned it to like a bunch of different people in the last couple of years, and every time we mentioned it, people are like, what? And I'm like, right, that's
like I just
happened.
did.
Yeah,
It's like, what?
he clearly had a very hardcore devoted fan base. You look online, but apparently nobody else was watching it. And like people,
same thing with Firefly, though, wasn't it?
people were bewildered as well, which is the issue with the OA, because it was a very cerebral thing. There's loads of little things going on, and and you didn't get any answers. People just got fed up of it, and they couldn't follow it. They were like, "Oh, what's going on? It's ridiculous." They just switched over to like, you know,
Lost suffered
whatever.
with that, though, didn't it? But that's because it had no direction of where it wanted to go. So, like, it would purposely just get really weird. Nothing gets answered, and then it just kind of like dragged out to a point where everyone just dropped away from it because they're like, oh, it's
We've derailed a bit from the horror here, but this is the issue with writing out a series in advance to making it up as you go along. As you say, when you get a TV show where they don't know if there's going to be another series, they're just kind of writing it as they go along.
I'd rather a series wrote itself out so it could end properly than be dragged through the mud like Supernatural. I really like Supernatural, but then as time's gone on, it's like they are flogging a dead horse.
I thought that from the first season, to be honest. Which
you?
is really interesting, because you haven't seen Buffy or Angel.
No.
And Supernatural's just a Buffy and Angel rip-off to me. So
but
I was like, oh, it's like a lame version of Buffy and Angel. I thought that's
like,
Supernatural.
you can tell
with
things
ghosts instead of vampires.
About to wrap up. And then, you've been commissioned to make 3 more series. So all of a sudden they have to suddenly shoehorn something that'll carry on to the next season going. And it's just like, oh, but isn't he dead? Oh, yeah, but he's died twice now, but he's come back twice. Yeah. And this, and it's like, oh, my, just stop it. Stop it.
Buffy and Angel, right? It's not a perfect series by any means. And it's these days, it's a little bit dated. I watched the first couple of seasons of Buffy like last year, the year before, and it's shown its age now, being a 90s TV show.
Yeah.
But it's super funny. It's really cleverly written. Joss Whedon's golden work is what made Joss Whedon famous, was the Buffy and Angel series. Like, you know, you guys all like the Marvel movies these days, like the Avengers, which is done by Joss Whedon, Firefly. Yeah. This is where he started and where he got big and famous, by making Buffy and Angel. It was awesome. Those TV shows, I think you get a lot out of them. Angel's slightly maturer. Angel started like season 3.
See, I'm funny with spin-offs as well.
Angel spun off to his own show in season 3. He left Buffy and went on to do his own show. And Angel itself, great TV show, aimed at an older audience, just a little bit more mature feeling. Still got the same campy themes though, you know, demons and vampires and stuff, but it's got a different tone to it.
So I like The Walking Dead, but I'm not bothered about the spin-offs. And now they're going to be ending that and have like a couple more spin-offs from that. And even though some of them will use the same characters, why bother changing the series altogether if they're keeping the same people? But I'm not bothered about that.
I couldn't get into Walking Dead. I watched the first series and I was just like, I don't know, I wasn't bothered after that. I wasn't bothered. Zombies, I think got a bit oversaturated at some point around that time period, and I think
it was after that period.
There was a lot of movies, and there was a lot of TV show related stuff, and video games were everywhere as well. A lot of zombie video games. It was just I was kind of done with zombies.
Done with that.
I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, Supernatural. No one could say I didn't give Supernatural a chance. my wife was very fond of Supernatural.
Supernatural is
and she sat me
teen X-Files.
I watched through. I would disagree based on some TV shows I've seen that are similar but different. Yeah, Supernatural. I sat through 8 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
And I did not enjoy it from season 1.
No, oh wow.
But she liked it, so it was. I was watching it.
There's some gold episodes.
She watches rubbish I like all the time, so I was like, it's fair.
There's gold episodes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like every TV show's got good and worse episodes, but to me, it was just doing stuff that I'd already seen by that point. So
yeah,
Buffy and Angel and X-Files all already did those things, and
this is why I'm saying it's like teen X-Files, like more so in the earlier seasons of Supernatural, because like each episode was its own thing. Like they were targeting like one monster or creature or whatever. Like the X-Files
it was a serial, every week it would be your Friday thing.
With the occasional...
Friday scenario, it'd open, take place and be closed in that one episode. There wouldn't be any arc. Yeah. Arcs were a big thing in TV shows up until the 90s. No, but
like, there's like the occasional like long-running like story or theme. Like X-Files had like Mulder's sister who got abducted. That became like a long-running thing. But then as X-Files went on, it just became more solely about the aliens over like Monster of the Week.
It flitted. It did flit a lot.
And then the more recent series of the X-Files was just poor.
I think I watched the first episode of the new X-Files.
I didn't watch some more because I watched some. I just thought this is really bad, really bad.
I have an aversion to watching reboots. And it's just because a lot of them are rebooting things I just don't think need to be good touched. X-Files is hard to go back to, I think. I actually watched series 1 of X-Files last year, and do you know what? It's not aged that well at all.
Because they don't have mobile phones. A lot of things could have been solved with a mobile phone.
Very 90s. And it's some of the themes and stuff, and the effects are pretty lame as well. Early TV show in the 90s, it's not looking great.
Well, it's a horror series. I mean, horror was typically low budget anyway, but if you're going to drag this out for series...
because they did very, very well.
They did do very well.
But like, yeah, it's not... It's held pretty well, but it's one of those things where you can't really go back to it, I don't think, now. I think if today...
Old horror's difficult to go back to, regardless of being a film,
I would disagree. Some stuff's held up well.
Some has. I'm not saying it all has, but again, with things being dated and like studios not wanting to pour lots of money into horror, not like they are these days, they do show their age, and a lot of them are dated. A lot of them, not all of them.
What I was going to say was that on the subject of the reboots, they're just going back to a thing that doesn't need to be touched. Like, X-Files was great. And then, like, the pester of the people and the writers, we need more X-Files. Like, 9 seasons wasn't enough. 9 seasons and 2 movies.
I like the films.
And they drudged the poor actor and actors back up, and they're old, and they look like they need a wheelchair and a sit down. I don't know.
It's like that new series of the X-Files, and there was some kind of creature, and like Mulder's like with his mobile phone, like trying to take a picture of it or something. I was like, oh, is it this app or something? It's like, oh, come on, you know what you're doing.
But it's
they're trying to joke that we're behind with the times kind of thing, but it's like it's like that Friday the 13th or Jason 1 Friday the 13th, where it's gone camp with itself, with its campy humour. Yeah, but more so as the series has gone on.
It got kind of self-referential.
It'll always go back to Jason in space.
Jason in space.
It's like when you reach that,
10 Jason,
you're like
Jason X.
It's just a no. It's just a no from me.
But yeah, I don't know. It's they keep threatening to do Gremlins. I know it's going to hurt me because Gremlins isn't a perfect movie, but it's a nostalgic movie, and that's what it is. People get obsessed with nostalgia these days. They're obsessed with 80s nostalgia and 90s nostalgia, and it bleeds out. And they're like, oh, well, we got let's go through and look for all the old classics and see what we can drudge up for some money. Oh, like Ghostbusters, they keep rebooting. Second reboot's coming.
Now, have you watched the trailer for it?
Yeah, I think looks like it's just a reboot where they're going to feed you nostalgia.
I know, and I'm all right with that.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, for now I am. Then I watch it and I'm like, what is this? But
Ghostbusters is a near perfect film, and it does not need to be touched ever. And the Ghostbusters 2...
we're heading into controversial terms
Ghostbusters
here.
2 almost spoiled it.
Yeah?
Ghostbusters is a great movie
Yeah.
and should be left alone. It's lightning in a bottle. That's what.
That's
That's
it.
that's the phrase. Lightning in a bottle.
How did you feel about Rob Zombie's Halloween?
He had some interesting ideas. I am a big fan of Rob Zombie as a musician, yeah, and also as a film director as well. Rob Zombie gets me in terms of my horror. He likes the schlock, but he also likes to have fun with it and also be dark at the same time.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of everything in there. I liked what he did where he tried to give like a bit of an origin story to it.
I like that element.
But then, he then just fed to the nostalgia and repeated the second half of the movie.
Why he became what he was.
And I feel like that's what he was going to do. I can imagine. I knew as soon as I heard that he was doing a movie, I was like, oh, he's going to get all his friends in it. There's going to be like a bunch of hillbillies. There's going to be like a family background so you can get the hillbilly in there.
His wife.
Yeah, his wife. Sherry Moon. Yep. And so I don't know. It's kind of expected. And the second one,
I fell asleep to the second one because it was awful.
Yeah. Again, he knew where he was going.
That wasn't his fault though. The movie he had planned was a lot different. It was the studio that kept telling him what they want him to do. So he kind of like, although he made the film, he didn't specifically direct it.
Right.
He had his strings pulled by the studio because they were like, right, we like what you did with the first one, but this is what we want you to do with the second one. We want you to do this, and we want you to do this, or we're just not going to do it.
Which is interesting because Rob Zombie is totally the kind of person that would be like, I'm not doing what you want to do. I can just imagine Rob Zombie being I'm not doing that.
There are I'm sure there's interviews and readings to look into it, but
I'm sure his hands would have been tied. Usually there's guys wearing ties that don't know what they're talking about behind every movie that's a sequel or a reboot.
That's it. It's a studio
or
as
we
big
need
as...
to we need to censor it down to a 12A so we can get a greater audience demographic. No, you can't do that to decent movies. Like
that was probably another
12A.
Thing which...
So they did to Chronicles of Riddick, for example. I think Pitch Black was like a 15, and then Chronicles of Riddick was like a PG because they need to get more kids in the cinema.
Pitch Black was a gem.
I think both of those movies have the merits.
I haven't watched Chronicles of Riddick.
Have you actually not seen it?
No.
It's pretty great, man. Honestly, it's like it opens Pitch Black's single character into like a whole universe of like
Does
a sci-fi
he go around
universe.
in a Dodge Charger drag racing?
No, but it's
blind monsters.
There's all of a sudden he's not a human, but it's like a race from a different galaxy, and it's crazy, man. The Chronicles of Riddick movie is not what you expect from a Pitch Black sequel at all.
No. You can tell that just by seeing like the trailers or even the promotional.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's a sci-fi epic, and it's great. It's a terrible, great movie. That one. That's a good example of a good movie. So we're on to yap about that.
This is Petrol Man of the Future. As it turns out, this episode of Usual Paddy is incredibly long, so I split it down into 2 episodes. This is the end of part 1. Join me incredibly soon for part 2.